Every time you watch Barcelona under Hansi Flick, you can't help but feel like he's bluffing.
I just said it before, I say,
One week you think you figured them out, then the next game comes, and it's a variation of the same idea, but it feels different, like you're watching another team.
How we work, it's totally different than they had it before.
Even the fans and pundits can't predict what's coming next.
So when you're top of the tree, you need to make sure you bring in big players as well to keep yourself at that level.
You know, people always talk about, well, if you're not going forward, you're going backwards. Well, I don't quite honestly agree with that, really. You know, what they've got right now is fantastic.
But here's the thing, it's not random. Flick has been working on this since day one of the new season. Training footage showed that he's already making changes to the dominant style that won Barcelona 3 trophies in the 2025 season. And that's surprising, right? Why would anyone change a winning formula? Why fix what's not broken? Well, because even through all the wins, the titles, the goals, there were cracks. Issues that were papered over because the team lifted silverware. Flick has been analyzing it for a while. I don't know how many people know this, but he had the club install a big 25 feet screen next to one of the Barca training pitches. He brought this idea with him to Barca when he was first appointed, and it was implemented in early 2025. It is a method that has been used by both Julian Nagelsmann and Luis Enrique. The screen has been there for a while, but I haven't seen anybody talk about it. Flick used it to carry out video sessions, which would previously have been done in a designated room. Players can watch clips of the team or their rivals, while Flick's staff can record training sessions live and review parts of them. The screen helps Flick to explain exactly what he expects from each move, and it's also proved useful for the goalies playing behind Flick's high line. It's this sort of analysis that has allowed to understand why he's doing this and what changes he's making. We have to look at the foundation of his philosophies, the base of the system that turned Barcelona into a winning machine in its first season. It's hard for Barca fans to forget the pain Hansi Flick once caused them with Bayern's 8-2 spanking, yet only a few years later, he's the man leading their rebuild. What's crazy is that Barcelona are now dominating teams with the exact same playstyle that caused them one of the worst defeats in the club's history. Flick didn't need years to settle in. Most managers require time to make their players understand their ideas. Meanwhile, Flick arrived, set up his 4-2-3-1, and instantly molded Barcelona into a team that looked like they've been playing this way for seasons. Historically, Barca has always had a commitment to a possession-based style that emphasizes short, quick passing. Xavi, Cruyff, Pep all built their system around the principles of tiki-taka. Flick still uses a lot of the same principles. The positional fluidity of the team is actually very much the total football that Cruyff had in mind. Barca still keep possession and dictate the tempo of matches. But with Flick, there's less focus on control through possession and more of a focus on being direct, vertical, and counter-pressing right away. He knew the team had to evolve again, so he blended Barcelona's possession DNA with his own high-risk, high-reward football.
The thing is here, a little bit they want to play. I'm also like that they focus a little bit more to score goals.
Barca were still at the top when it came to holding possession, averaging 66.5% in the 2025 season, but they tried to be more direct with each pass, which was difficult because in La Liga nobody presses high against them. They instead sit deep, put their entire family and club staff behind the ball, and pray. As we will see later in the video, Flick has a plan for the dirty low blocks that he witnessed in its first season. Flick's system changes between a 4-3-3 and a 4-2-3-1, but the idea stays the same. The ball flows from the center back to the midfield, searching for the creative number 8 or the number 10, which in this case is Pedri, Olmo, Rafinha, Yamal at times, before reaching the 3 attackers up front. He gives the team the freedom to be positionally fluid. Players are no longer tied to one fixed position. They can move out of their zones, swap roles, and adjust on the fly. This is what makes Barcelona so unpredictable and so hard to defend against. Take the wingers, for example. Rafinha and Yamal don't just stay glued to the touchline. Many times they drift inside, acting as extra playmakers or even second strikers. When they do that, they drag defenders with them, leaving huge gaps for fullbacks like Balde or Koundé to burst forward. Suddenly, Barcelona have more players in the same area, overloading the opposition and forcing mistakes. Defenders get pulled out of shape, and that's when players like Pedri or Yamal find pockets of space to do their magic. This fluidity also helps Barca when they lose the ball. Because the players are already so close together, they can immediately press and win the ball back high up the pitch. That quick reaction is a key part of Flick's philosophy. It's the gang and press that we have seen from other German managers like Klopp at Liverpool. A big reason this works works is because of the way Flick uses a double pivot in midfield. Instead of having both defensive midfielders be side by side, he staggers them. One sits deeper, just ahead of the center backs, while the other pushes slightly higher up. This creates more passing lanes. The deeper pivot can take the ball off the defenders and keep the play ticking. This could be Casado, Bernal, or even Frankie de Jong at times. While the advanced pivot can quickly receive progressive passes and push the attack forward at speed. This player is usually always Pedri, but sometimes you'll see Gavi in this role as well. There's two other names that really stand out in the build-up, and that's Pau Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez. The young guy and the Unk topped the entire league for passes made in the 2025 season. Cubarsí with 1,682 and Martinez with 1,508. Just ahead of them in midfield were Pedri with 1,246 passes and Marc Casado with 1,110. Together, this back four and the double pivot form the heartbeat of Barcelona's possession game, moving the ball around calmly, waiting for spaces to appear. While this happens, the fullbacks join in. Balde on the left would push forward early, stretching the pitch and giving Barcelona another attacking option. On the right, Jules Koundé was more patient, choosing his moments to run upfield while still keeping the structure. He still ended up with 1,139 passes, which was one of the highest tallies in the league. He doesn't have to push up as much because Yamal is so good, but when he does push up, well, you know what he can do.
Short, Koundé onto it to maybe win the Copa del Rey. Koundé with a killer effort. And Barcelona celebrate in Seville with minutes remaining of extra time.
Ahead of them, Rafinha started wide on the left, looking for moments to drift inside and link up with Dani Olmo or Fermin Lopez. And then on the opposite side was the teenage sensation Lamine Yamal, who stayed wider for longer, waiting for his moment to isolate defenders and create his magic. And then at the center of it all, Robert Lewandowski held his ground as the main striker, ready to finish off the moves once Barcelona's intricate passing actually found its way to him. It's a big contrast to Xavi's 4-3-3, which relied on one holding midfielder. When Sergio Busquets was there, it worked beautifully because he's arguably the greatest defensive midfielder ever. But once Busquets left, there was no like-for-like replacement, and the system struggled. Flick doesn't really need a Busquets-type player. In his setup, both midfielders can share the workload, defending, creating, and controlling the game together. Perfect example of this was the partnership of Frankie de Jong and Pedri. It made Barcelona's midfield far more balanced and dynamic. Flick understands the tradition of tiki-taka and possession play at Barca. He hasn't abandoned it by any means, but he has incorporated more verticality and riskier build-up play in an attempt to get forward quicker. Barca still play out of the back, but now the players are instructed to be way more direct. The goal is to progress to the final third as quickly as possible. Flick wants to see the team go forward instead of passing side to side in the middle, which was seen a lot during Xavi's tenure. Instead of having the players be right next to each other, Flick has the squad spread apart to make the pitch as big as possible. This creates more space, making it much harder for the opponent to easily defend. Now, instead of holding possession just for the sake of having possession, each pass has an actual purpose. Perfect example of how Flick's Barca became a complete team could be seen in their match against Atletico. For the first time since 2007, long before Diego Simeone became Atletico's boss, his team threw away a 2-goal lead. They were up 2-0 against Barca, and yet by full time, it was 4-2 to the visitors. Not only was the comeback impressive, but so were the type of goals that Barca scored. They scored from crosses, something that the Blaugrana are not particularly known for. Inigo Martinez swung in a cross that wasn't even perfect. It looked more like a last-minute inshallah pass than a planned cross. But Lewandowski turned it into goal. He beat his defender, controlled it with his chest, and while stretching, fired the ball past Jan Oblak with his weaker left foot. It was classic Lewandowski, making something out of nothing. And at that moment, the stadium's mood flipped instantly. From there, Barca smelled blood, and they continued using the new weapon they had that past Barca sides didn't rely on: crosses. Before, Barca would pass the ball endlessly, looking for this little gap in or trying to find this neat pass to break the defense open. But Flick's team isn't afraid to lift the ball into the box anymore, and it worked. The second goal came the same way. Jules Koundé rolled the ball to Rafinha, who was now playing as a midfielder. In the box, Lewandowski peeled away to the far post, dragging some defenders with him. Ferran Torres then ran straight to the near post. Rafinha smashed a low ball in, something between a cross and a shot. Torres got the smallest of touches, but it was just enough to trick Oblak. 2-2. The rest was then history. Barcelona now attack in numbers, filling the box, making runs from everywhere. They scored a double-digit amount of goals from crosses in the 2025 season. This Barcelona is not just tiki-taka anymore. They can still pass and combine, but now if the neat build-up doesn't work, they'll go direct. possessions. They'll cross, they'll fight for rebounds, and they will score ugly goals too. Barcelona's new habit of scoring from crosses isn't luck. It's something that they've clearly worked on in the training ground. You could see it perfectly in their 7-1 win over Valencia. For the first goal that night, Lamine Yamal picked up the ball wide and looked across. Inside the box, Fermin Lopez darted towards the far post. Rafinha sprinted towards the near post, and suddenly space opened up right between the two Valencia defenders. That's where Frankie de Jong arrived, timing his run perfectly to poke the ball into the net. The second goal was almost a carbon copy, just with different faces. This time Balde charged down the left wing and prepared to whip a cross in. Fermin Lopez once again peeled away to one side, Rafinha attacked another, and Ferran Torres went through the middle. The defenders were pulled in 3 different directions like your local hooker, leaving Ferran free to meet Balde's cross and finish it in. This isn't random movement, it's training ground work showing up on the pitch on match day. The players don't just rush into the box and pray that they get a chance. They're timing their runs perfectly. They know which areas to attack, and they make different runs to confuse the defenders. One player is stretching the back line, another one is coming short, and another one is getting into the box late. It's very much organized chaos, and it's incredibly hard to stop. I can't stress this enough. Barca were never known for this kind of play. For years, their identity was short passes, through balls, and clever link-ups around the box. But under Flick, they've added this new weapon without losing their old strengths. They still press high, they still dominate the midfield and combine beautifully in attack. But now they can also score that scrappy goal when they need it the most. That's what makes this Barca side feel so different, more complete, more unpredictable. Teams can no longer just close the middle and expect Barcelona to pass themselves to death. Now, if you give them space out wide, they'll hurt you there too, loading the box with runners and turning simple crosses into goal. On top of crosses, Barca also significantly improved in another department, set pieces. As you can see from this chart below, they were both generating more expected goals and scoring more goals per 100 set pieces than they were in the previous seasons. Only 3 clubs were scoring more regularly from dead ball situations in La Liga than Barca. Flick's Barca also looks to often penetrate teams from behind. Now yes, I know that sentence sounds absolutely crazy, but get your mind out of the gutter. I'm talking about the Barca side exposing the space behind the opposition back line. They were able to do this because of the movement of the 9. In this example being Lewandowski. He doesn't just stand still waiting for crosses. He's not Ronaldo. Many times he drops deeper, pulling the center backs out of position. If they follow him, great. It creates space behind for the others to attack. If they don't, he's free to receive the ball and link up with whoever's in the number 10 spot, combining in tight areas to keep the attack moving. Then while Lewandowski drops in, players like Yamal and Rafinha are already making runs behind the defense. It's a nightmare to defend, because the defenders are torn between closing Lewandowski or covering the space in behind. This approach is why Barcelona had played the most through balls in La Liga. A big part of this is also because of Pedri. His passing has been a game changer. When Barca win the ball back in midfield, Pedri is usually the one to start the counter. He's so good at receiving the ball, turning quickly, and then immediately looking to play forward. Often he skips Lewandowski and the number 10 entirely, going straight to the wingers. It's direct, it's fast, and it's very difficult to stop. But what if Pedri or the other midfielders can't get on the ball because they're being marked too tightly? Flick's Barca have another solution. The defenders. Koundé, Kubarsi, or Inigo Martinez won't hesitate to launch a ball over the top for Rafinha or Yamal to chase. And if Lewandowski's nearby, he can win the flick on, keeping the move alive and creating another chance. Even though most opponents sit deep against Barca, rarely pressing high, this team has learned how to break any setup. They can patiently pass, they can cross, they can hit a quick through ball, or they can go long and direct. Flick is turning Barcelona into a team with an answer for everything, and that's why they've scored more goals than anyone else in La Liga under his watch. Now, another reason why Barca scored so much is because Flick put a lot of faith in the youth and the bench. You see, while the starting front 3 deservedly got the heap of the praise, the rest of the Barca team also helped a ton when it came to scoring. Only Atletico Madrid had more La Liga goals from their subs than Barca. Ferran Torres, who was playing as the backup 9, had his best season for the club. He scored 15 goals in all competitions, almost matching Vini's goal contributions in his Ballon d'Or season. Then there was Fermin Lopez, another player who was not a guaranteed starter, beginning just 11 of his 31 appearances, yet he chipped in with 5 goals. What makes this even more impressive is when you look at how many different players found the net. Between La Liga and the Champions League, Barcelona had 16 different goal scorers in the 2025 season. Flick had turned the attack into a collective effort, where goals came from everywhere on the pitch. And now with Marcus Rashford and Rooney Bargaji joining the squad, Flick has even more weapons to call on. These two bring fresh energy and new styles of play, giving him extra options when the games get tight. You need pace in behind, Rashford's there. You need creativity or another player who can cut inside and link up, Rooney's ready. It means Barcelona can change their approach mid-game without losing quality. They can overload the wings, they can flood the box, or stretch the defense with speed and behind. With this much firepower on the bench, every sub is going to feel like a problem for the opposition to solve, and it makes Barca's attack more dangerous than it's been in years. I mean, there was a time where I was watching Adama Traore and Martin Braithwaite as the impact subs. But you know what else is dangerous? This completely rare Barca kit that was never even released officially. Yeah, you can get it for yourself at buygamejerseys.com. Just use code PETTALKS at checkout. Then you have the fact that Flick had a lot of faith in the youth. He talked about the importance of La Masia the moment he was appointed.
So I have to say thank you to La Masia, because how they develop the player, it's unbelievable. And this quality they give us, it's really.
Barca has always been a club that believes in its young players, and Hansi Flick made sure that tradition lived on. Over the past few years, every coach had given the next generation a chance to shine. Ronald Koeman brought Pedri, Gavi, and Balde into the first team. Xavi followed by giving debuts to Lamine Yamal, Pau Cubarsí, and Fermin Lopez. Now Flick is continuing that legacy. In his first season, he leaned on almost all of the youngsters, building his team around their energy and fearlessness. Their energy and hunger have been key to Barca's fast, relentless style of play. That pressing game is especially intense. Barca ranks second in La Liga for PPDA, which is passes allowed per defensive action, meaning opponents barely have time to breathe before a swarm of Barca shirts closes in. If they lose the ball in midfield, fullbacks like Balde and Koundé immediately step up, closing down passing options from the blind side. Behind them, whether it's Pedri and Casado or Pedri and De Jong, the midfielders hunt aggressively, cutting off central lanes and helping Dani Olmo or Fermin Lopez, whoever's at the number 10 spot, win key duels in the middle. Then up front, the three attackers tuck in, locking the ball in dangerous areas until Barca win it back. Above everything though, what Flick has done really well is changing the mentality at the club. Despite the amount of injuries that happened in 2025, he never made any excuses. You could see it in his body language and his interview. He was never satisfied. When Barca were beating Valladolid 7-0, he was pushing the team to keep scoring to make it 8. What a freak. He never once complained about the lack of transfer activity or say he needed more players. He made it clear that he will work with what he has and that the squad is more than capable of fighting for all the trophies, which he was correct about. It might seem like just words, but language matters a lot when you're managing a team. It shows belief from the manager, and that belief in turn is transferred over to the players. It's also evident in Barca's style. The team doesn't stop running from the first to the last minute of the match. That confidence is also the reason why pretty much every single player improved under Flick. Well, except Ter Stegen, but hey, on the plus side, in just 1 year, Flick exposed that German fraud. Inigo Martinez went from a player at the end of the bench, a signing that was completely questioned, to starting week in, week out. Him and Cubarsí were able to execute the high defensive line to perfection. They made Mbappe look like a joke in his first El Clasico. That's not easy to do, by the way. It's a very high risk, high reward system, and these guys did it at the Bernabeu against two of the fastest attackers in world football. Rafinha also thrived under Flick. He already shown flashes of brilliance under Xavi, but with Flick in charge, he reached another level. Whether he was playing out wide on the left or drifting into the number 10 role, Rafinha was unstoppable. This guy was scoring, he was assisting. His speed and clever movement made him perfect for Flick's direct style. Add in his relentless work rate, and you had a player built for Flick's Barca. He truly had earned the captain's armband. By the way, Barca fans, you gotta glaze Rafinha's work rate more. I mean, Dembele's getting Ballon d'Or shouts and getting that clip of him pressing at the top of the box going viral everywhere. Yet Rafinha did the same thing all season and nobody talks about it. Then there's Robert Lewandowski, reborn under Flick just like his Bayern Munich days. His best ever season had come playing for Flick, and now history is repeating itself. Leva was scoring for fun again, playing as this complete striker in the system. He didn't need to roam far from the box. Instead, he thrived on the spaces created by Barcelona's fluid attack, using his experience and killer instinct to put the ball in the back of the net. In fact, if he was more clinical, he could have had even more goals. Now, he did still drop deep at times to link up with the play and help the midfield, but his main mission was quite simple: finish the move once Barca reached the final third. At an age where many strikers slow down, he is still scoring like a player in his prime, like he was 28 again. Under Flick, he reminded everyone why he had been seen as one of the best strikers to ever grace the sport. Now, as exciting as Barca have been, Flick's system is not perfect. Barca under Flick love living on the edge when they defend. The backline pushes way up the pitch, daring teams to try and break through. Most of the time it works like magic. In the 2025 season, they caught the opposition offside 174 times, the highest in Spain. When everyone steps together perfectly, there's no room to breathe. The space suddenly disappears and teams are forced into mistakes. But it's a risky game. If just one defender, one player mistimes a step or isn't on cue with the rest of the team, it leaves a huge space in behind the back line. And against good teams, they're going to punish you. Look at the Champions League semi-final against Inter. Lautaro Martinez and company had the blueprint. Curve your run behind the line, wait for the ball over the top, and go. Time and time again, those passes ripped through Barca's trap. Barca still scored goals on their own, but Inter showed how pace and timing can tear this high-risk defense wide open. Flick's whole idea is about keeping the pressure on. Score one, go get another, press non-stop, keep running. Most of the time, it's great to watch and it wins you games. But in knockout football, it can quickly bite you in the ass. No system in the world of football is perfect though. Every style has its pros and cons. And Flick's style has a lot of pros. His tactical overhaul is a modern revolution of the Barca playstyle. It's a blend of the total football that Cruyff spoke about, along with Flick's gegenpress. Barca still hold the ball and dominate you in possession, but can now punish you in transition. Flick has crafted a Barcelona team that is unpredictable and relentless. His style at Barca isn't just about winning, it's about redefining what a Barca game looks and feels like for both players and fans alike. Now, one player who's been absolutely vital to Flick's style is Rafinha. To see how he went from the streets of Brazil to becoming a Ballon d'Or candidate, you have to watch this video right here.